Okay, welcome everyone. Today we want to write up an automated test script that would send key, right? That will enter data or a string or integer to a particular input field. Okay, so let's start. First, we'll have to create our feature file, right? So we'll come on the feature file folder, right click on it, click on add and new item. Okay, so once we're here, right, so because we are creating a feature file, click on this and click on feature. So this will be registration dot feature. Let me just give it a name, registration, right, registration dot feature. I'll create our feature file for registration dot feature. Right, so I would write this, which is giving user is on the registration landing page. Note that when you're doing yours, you will have to start from user navigate to website and build it up from there. But because I want to navigate straight to the landing page, as I was saying, my feature file is given user is on registration landing page. So let me enter the URL. Okay, so this is my URL. So when the user enter, okay, enter first name, okay, so like we said, you can have when user enter their details, right, then you have to put in all your you save your elements and then enter all your method, right? Call all, input all the fields, okay, all your details under one method, okay? Or you could choose to do it one after the other. User enter their first name, the second name, and all that. But that would be very long, okay? You can decide to shorten it, you can decide to make it long. So anyhow you want to do it, but let's use and user enter, okay, well, let's use his, but we can use the details. Okay, you can say personal, okay, details. Right. So under user enter their personal detail, we can now have username, password, and all that onto the sending it. Okay. So now we are not going to have them, right? For now. Okay, let's comment that. Right. So we'll have this scenario. Okay, and the scenario we want to have is registration, or want to have a valid registration. Valid registration. Okay, we want to have a valid registration. Now, so we'll have this, we're gonna remove this tag. Okay, you can say, write this one, which is a short summary. Okay, as a user, okay, I want to enter my details. Okay, so I can complete my registration. Right. So I can complete my registration and oops. As a user on PrimeSoft. Okay. Have that. Let me PrimeSoft. Okay. Have and okay, as a user on PrimeSoft, I want to enter my details so I can complete my registration. So now we can generate, okay, define, and this is coming up now. Yep. So I want to create, okay, that particular step definition. Okay. I've created my step definition. So you can see my step definition. Right. So you can see my URL where I have to enter my URL. Okay. So as you know, we've done something similar to this before. So we can always, just to be quick, you can always copy that particular line again, okay, from what we have done before. No, not on the feature file. You can go on the step definition. Okay, you can just copy what you have there. Okay, which is this, and paste on your registration. Okay, this is just to be quick and get to what we want. Okay, so we can have, yeah, because we haven't declared this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to declare it as well. So I know we've covered what I'm doing now before. So I'm just trying to get to the point where we'll have to send. Okay, so all right. So maybe before I do this, let me just do it accordingly. Okay, so before I do this, let me go and create my page objects. Okay, so add new item. Okay, my code class, and I can call this right registration. Page objects. Okay, creating my registration page objects. Right, so change this to public. Okay, so go on my other, yeah, other page object, just copy from here. Okay, copy from here. You already know what we did here as well. And come on this registration page object and paste it. Okay, so it will highlight because I need to change this method. I need to call it the same as the class name. Okay, right. So I've done this now. I've created my page object just like we've done before. Okay, and yeah. So another thing I need to do is to create my constructor or my step definition. Okay, and to do that, I need this. Right. So what I'm going to do is just to copy the class name, the method, go on my step definition. Okay, and here. Okay, once I'm here, I can just click on enter and do this, and then I can use registration. I can do registration equal to new registration. Okay, and I have this, and outside I have a semicolon. Right. So now, yeah, so now we have our URL here, and you already know we need our method, okay? And to write our method for our page object, we can go back here, can go on this one and get this same method, okay? Then come here and paste. Right, so once we go back to our step definition again, registration step definition, we can now say, we can now call on the registration, okay, dot navigate. You can see navigate will come up, right, and then we'll have our open and close brackets, and we'll have our semicolon. Inside our open and close bracket, we'll add our URL. So it has to be like a URL. Right. So when we run this now, okay, so let's save build solution. So it's building. You can see it's building here. So this step, that what I've just done now, you've done it on your own. Okay, so you might not need to do all this again because you've done that step, which is navigating to URL. But what I'm trying to do, in order to just go straight, you can see the registration is here. So in order to just go straight, I will go on my hooks and comment this out so that when we navigate to the landing page, you will see it. Right. So I have a valid registration here. Okay, which is this, and I want to run just this step because I don't have anything on this one. Okay, so I would comment this one out again because I don't want it. So I'll comment this one out because I don't want it to run. I don't have any step on it, so I just want to navigate to the web to the landing page. So when I run this, okay, so it will take us straight to that landing page. Can you see? So it has taken us straight to this landing page. Straight to this landing page where we'll have to enter this. Okay, so I'll close this and go back. So I'll comment this one out now because we now want to add our step. So now let's go on the step definition. So this is where we'll call the step definition. Okay, so but what we'll do is we'll go to our page object, which is registration page object. Okay, so we'll store our elements here. Okay, so we'll have private by, okay, equals, we have private by, okay, so we have private by, right? So what do we, let me open the field again. So this is what we want. This is what we're looking at. So first name, okay, so we want to impute our first name and our last name. Then what we'll do is we'll do first name and last name, okay? So we'll name it first name, okay? So we have private by first name, right? First, okay, private by step name equal to, okay, by, right, dots. So like I said, you can either use tag name, partial length name, class name, reference. So but because we are used to expert, I will use expert, but you can use ID, you can use anything, right, that you want. But because we're used to expert, let's stick to expert, okay? Expert, nope, dots, expert. Okay, so we'll have our experts, then we'll have our open and close brackets, and inside our open and close bracket, we'll have our quotation mark, and then this. You can see I haven't added anything because I haven't inspected the element. We'll go and inspect the element, okay? But we've done this before, right? So I want to be a little bit quicker, and we'll have private by, the next one is last name, right? Last name, okay, equals by dots. Expert again, okay, open and close brackets, quotation mark, and semicolon, right? Now, let's go and inspect. When we go and inspect, we'll come and put it here, okay? So we've written where we want to.
R is missing in first.
Sorry?
First name. You're missing a letter there.
First. Okay, first name. Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so let's go here. Right, we want to inspect first name. On the field, right click. On the field, right click and inspect. All right. Right click and inspect. Okay. So once you right click and inspect, when you come here, you can see that it's been highlighted. So if we right click here as usual and copy experts, okay, Control F and Control V to paste. You can see how short our expert is. This is our expert. Okay. So once we'll hit on enter, you can see our field has been highlighted. Okay. So we'll copy this, which is our expert, right? And we'll go to our tests and paste it in here. Right. Okay. So we'll paste it that and we'll come back again. Yeah. I know I'm doing it in a different way, but yeah, they are still the same. I believe you're following with what I'm doing. So now on this one, which is the last name, right? Click on this and then inspect this one, right? So once we're inspecting that one, what we're getting, let me move this a little bit up. So this is what we want to inspect, this particular field. Click on it and okay, we're having that issue because we still have this name here. So you have to remove it so you choose the right one. Okay. So click on this field. You can see which one is highlighted, this. So which is lastly input, type is test, name is user, last name, user underscore last name, ID is user underscore last name, class is this. Okay, so we'll highlight the right click there, copy our experts. Okay, once we copied our experts, we'll paste it here. You can see the experts. Once I click on it for last name, the last name field get highlighted, copy it and go back to our Visual Studio. Okay, come here on the last name, you can see last name and paste. Okay, good. Now it's time to write the method. Okay, so because we have, okay, now, so what you do is you come here and write the method as usual, which is public. Okay, so public, I can choose to say, so now we could choose to have two methods and call these two methods under the same step definition, right? So we could choose to say public void, okay? We can say enter first name, right? And, okay, open and close brackets and then curly braces, enter, right? And we can now say driver dot find element, right? And tab. So now I don't want to click, I want to send keys. Okay. So I want to send keys. I want to say dots, send keys. Can you see once I click on S? So now what do we want to send as our first name? We want to say that our first name is, okay, tester1. Just giving this as an example. Tester1. Okay, we'll just say our first name is tester. Okay, so remember it's a string. You have to string it with double quotes. Okay, you have to put double quotes on it. Right. So now what we want our first name to be, right? We want our first name to be tester1. So now going by your question, we could say, okay, we want to have another method, right? We want to have another method here and we'll call it, just note, we want to have another method here and we'll call it last name. Enter last name. And we'll come here and change it to last name. And okay, so let's say our first name is tester1 and we want our first name is tester1 and we want our last name to be tester2. Okay, so can you see? So what we'll have here, let me expand this. I don't know what this. Yeah. So you can see what I'm doing. Right. So looking at what we have here, we'll have two methods here, right? We'll have two methods, and the first method is enter first name. This will send tester1 to that first name field, and we can have enter. We can have enter. We can have another method which says enter last name, and it will send tester2 on that field. Okay, so yeah, or we can say we don't want to add number, right? We can say test. We can say test A. Okay, we can say this as test B. Right, we can enter this as tester B and tester A. Right, tester A and tester B. But you put, let's say you have a tester account, like on your URL, let's say you have your tester account, for your last name, let's say you want to enter whatever is in your tester account. But let's assume that for this, our first name is tester A and our last name is tester B. Okay, so now what we'll have is two methods, right? This method and this method. We can call these two methods under the same step. Okay, we can call these two methods under the same step. And how do we do it? Okay, let's go to our step definition. Okay, let's go to our step definition. We'll remove this. How do we call it? We'll now say registration dot, right? Enter first name. And then come. And then again, we can say registration again, right? Dot. You can see it's coming out for me. Can you see what we did? So we have two methods, right? We have two methods. If I hold down my control key, I will go on this one. Can you see? So when I go back, if I have two methods again, I can click on this. Can you see? I have two methods on this side, and I'm calling it under this particular one step. Okay? If we run it, let's save and run. Okay? You can see, we will navigate to the website and then enter those fields that we have. Okay, it's running now. It's running now. Can you see? Can you see? Can you see what happened? It has entered. Can you see? It has entered my first name, which is tester A, and it has entered my last name, which is tester B. Can you see? So if you want to enter all this, that's the same thing you will do. You do this over and over again. Put your address. Yes, I can see your hand. Hang on. Put your address. Put your first name, your city name, country. On this one, we'll do it because this you have to do selects. Okay, we'll do that when we'll get there. Anyway, so now this is how you enter your first name and your last name. Now, this is one point. Before I take your question, okay, before I take your question, let me close this. Right. Now, you can also do this in a different way. You can have, when you go on your page objects, okay, you can have these two things under one method. So how do we have it under one method? So instead of saying public void, enter your first name, you can say public void, right? Enter personal, because you need to name it to make sense. Personal detail, right? Public void, enter personal detail. So, but the same action you want it to perform is what you will have. The same action. Okay, you can decide to put it together. You can decide to space it. Okay, you can decide to put it together, or you can decide to space it so it's clear. So you can just, now you have to remove this method. Can you see? Under one method, I have two actions. I want the driver to send my name, and I also want the driver. So we'll have one method here. So what do? You copy this method, okay, and go on your step definition. So now you can see this is highlighted because I've removed it. Remove this one because you're just calling one method and two action is there. Remove this one as well and enter the other method. Right, so this is the method we have now. When you hold down your control key and click on this, right, you have. So once that method is called, these two code will run. It will send our first name and our last name. Okay, first name and last name. Let me run it again, and you will see. Yeah. See, it's running now. Can you see? Can you see that? It has done the same. It has entered our first name and our last name. Okay. So that's it. Let me close this. You can see I did it two ways, right? I wrote two methods, okay, and as well as one method as well. Okay, two methods here that I did before, and then call those two methods there. But for this one, I have one method, have my two line of code, then called one method, and it ran. So yeah, Vincent, can I ask your question now?
Okay. In a situation whereby we have conditions, there are conditions attached to the login functionality, maybe where you want to put in your name, and maybe you're and the this condition, for example, now you're told like, let me say for example now the password, and you're told like the type of this password must contain this number, this pass like some condition, the type of things they want to see there. How are you going to write your code to actually test that? Like maybe if you want to test like valid and invalid scenarios, all those things, can you actually run that on code, or are you going to do that manually?
So yeah, we can run it on code as well, right? So you can have your scenarios. So you see where we have our feature file,
Yes.
right? So under our registration, right, you have our feature file, right? So this is for valid, right? So let's say your password, you want to enter your password, everything you're entering for this one is valid, okay? You can have, you see one scenario valid, okay? You can have another scenario here where you say invalid, right? You can have another scenario where you have invalid here, right? Invalid registration, okay? You can see another scenario, invalid registration. You can have another scenario where you have, okay, you have invalid registration with, okay, you can say a letter, okay, or yeah, with a letter, okay. So what you'll be entering is a letter. So you can have as many scenarios as possible, okay, depending on different sort of condition you want to test, okay. You can have another invalid scenario with, let's say with 500, just want to put 500, let's say invalid registration with, okay, password, right, greater than, okay, than 100. I'm just, 100 numbers, or less than, okay, with password, say greater, with password less than, okay, 3 numbers, 3 numbers. Right. So you can have as many scenarios as possible. Okay. You can have as many scenarios as possible. Okay. So that's because we have developed so many other scenarios. Okay, this will now lead us to what we'll call background. Okay, because I've already done this. Okay, this will not lead us to what is called background. So you can see, right, on this different scenario, we'll have scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, scenario 4. And in each of the scenario, we'll keep repeating giving user navigate to landing page, giving user navigate. Let's say we'll have other terms. Okay, let's say we'll have and user enter the enter bank details. Let's say we have other ones. Okay, we also have another one here. But the only thing that is right is consistent or is the same is giving user, okay, is on the registration landing page. Let's say we'll keep having this over and over again. We could introduce what is called background. And how do you introduce background? So what the background does is that background will run before any other line or any other step in your scenario start running. Okay, so background will run. You add background here. Okay, where you have background, you can just type it and it will pop up. Can you see? So you can now copy this particular line, this particular one as it is, okay, and put under the background. Put it under the background. So once you have it under background, okay, so you can now go ahead and remove that line from here. Okay, you can see those. You can also go ahead and remove it from this particular scenario. You can go ahead and remove it from this, so you don't need to duplicate it again from this particular scenario. You can also go ahead and remove it from this particular scenario. So you do this when you have multiple scenarios and you are repeating the same thing step over and over again. Okay, let's say we also need to enter username and password for every other scenario, right? Before we do something else, we can still add that scenario, that particular line under the background. Okay, we can give the background name as what URL navigation. Okay, so that is it. So this is one way of having multiple scenarios where you want to test different things. Okay, again, we'll have what we call scenario outline. Okay, where you have your tables. Okay, you have your scenario outline where you parameterize, let's say password, for example. You parameterize password and you want to impute different sets of data for different scenarios. So instead of having different scenarios like this, you can now parameterize it and put bracket, you can parameterize it, okay, and then create a table for it, and then use that table to test different different data sets, basically. Okay, so you can apply the scenario outline. So if you want to use scenario outline, okay, just come, instead of having scenario, you can just put scenario outline. Okay, scenario outline. You can have, let me search for it here. You can have your scenario, you can say scenario outline. Okay, so once you have your scenario outline, you can just impute it and then parameterize and then create a table, right? You usually write example. Under your scenario outline, you put your example and then you can now parameterize, have your table, okay? And then enter all those different scenarios, all those different type of password. So what it does, it runs your table in a scenario form, okay? Don't want to get you confused, Vincent. This is a way you could do it, which is by having multiple scenarios, okay? But as we progress, we can go over a scenario outline and you see how that is being done. All right, any question?